welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, commenting, liking, etc. But first and foremost, thank you to the sponsors. Your kind generosity is what makes the videos possible and what makes me continue to make them. Without you, I would have stopped, quite frankly. Today we'll talk about something else from what we normally discuss. Today we will indulge into gluttony. We will be talking about the ship's galley. And this is an interesting subject. As with most other things, galleys do change. And there are some regional differences in how you install a galley, how you build the galleys, how you insulate the galleys and prevent fire, or at least attempt to prevent fire, and how did this change over the centuries, regions, etc. One of the most popular myths is of how sailors were starving, that the food was terrible, the food was insufficient, etc. Nothing could be farther from the truth, actually. The overwhelming majority of sailors ate afloat infinitely better than their equivalent social status person would have eaten on dry land. They usually ended up with about 7 pounds of meat per week. I'm not sure that even we are eating that much meat. A land person in this period, 17th, 18th century, would be lucky if they could afford meat once a week. The agricultural laborers, common laborers, what nowadays we would call blue-collar laborers, very rarely could afford that much meat. So, better heads than mine, more attuned to human physiology, have discussed this before and have written dissertations on the subject. And the general conclusion is that we grossly underestimate how well-fed sailors were. Whenever there were problems, it was usually because of long voyages, because of stress, and it was related to really the circumstances, to the available technology of preserving food, rather than to intentional cheating, at least as far as the crown navies were concerned. And that is an important difference to bring to attention. Another interesting comment that should be made is experiments have been carried out with well-preserved original galleys. For example, the galley from Mary Rose. Chris Dobbs built a replica of that galley, tracked down typical recipes and food from the 16th century, and experimented to see what sort of variety can you produce on board ship with what can politely be described as primitive conditions. And it proved that they actually are not that primitive, and that the variety of food that could be produced was surprisingly significant. It is, of course, true that most of the food was usually boiled, because it is the easiest to produce when you are cooking for anywhere from 200 to 700 people or more. Now, as far as location, galleys and their construction over the centuries, we have positive evidence for galleys aboard ship actually from ancient times. And most of what we have from very early periods, from BC, before the current era, if you want the more politically correct version of the expression, we have charcoal burners that have survived. I'm aware of at least a couple that were excavated from the harbor of Suzopu on the southern Bulgarian coast. There are some Roman examples of charcoal burners. And then there are a number of more recent ones. But as far as a complete galley is concerned, off the top of my head, the earliest that I can think of is coming from the wreck, from the 7th century wreck from Yasara. It is a Byzantine vessel, dates to the tail end of the Persian Wars, right about the time when the Byzantines, or the Eastern Roman Empire, delivered a crushing defeat to the Persians. nice and dandy, but that in a way gave way to Islam, a far greater threat as it proved. That vessel, not much survived. Around 7-8% of the ship survived. However, careful recording on the bottom by George Bass's team, and particularly by Professor Van Dorning, Frederick Van Dorning, probably the foremost maritime Byzantologist living. He worked for his dissertation on the reconstruction of the vessel and also the reconstruction of the galley. It consisted of tiles, typical Roman tiles, both roofing tiles and normal building floor tiles. The galley itself was built probably in some kind of a wooden platform chest, almost. It consisted of sand, then there were the tiles built on top of this wooden platform, and they cooked on open fires inside this galley. It is remarkable how long this arrangement survived. Before we move on, I should also point out that this was located in the stern of the ship. That is something that you can still see in the Levant, basically Eastern Mediterranean, Aegean, Marmara, Black Sea. That lasted for quite a few centuries. As far as what you're much more likely to be encountering during ship modeling, Western-style galleys. There are a number of publications that deal with galleys. And in a way, it is interesting that we're discussing this because one of the doctoral candidates of my friend and colleague, Professor Jon Rumby, is writing her dissertation exactly on this. So it is fresh in my mind, and when the High Command ordered me to do a video on galleys, for once I agreed to do it without resistance, or at least too much resistance. Returning to the galleys, we have surviving galleys from the 16th century. We have galleys from, obviously, Mary Rose. We have galleys from some of the other wrecks studied in this period. And what is notable is that the galleys are located in the hold of the ship. This is something that will last and will continue to be the main location until probably the mid-17th century. And even slightly after that, around the 1650s, there was a discussion where exactly is the best place to locate the galley. And this is an interesting conversation, in truth. Initially, it was in the hold. On Vasa, it is in the hold. Mary Rose, it was in the hold. No matter that an Eastern Carolina University student once, many years ago at a conference, argued that Mary Rose's galley is in the forecastle in front of John Adams, who excavated the ship, and continued to argue with John that, no, he is wrong, the galley was in the forecastle. Obviously, the poor fellow did not know who he was talking to, but it was very entertaining, and the rest of us who knew perfectly well were having a wonderful time at his expense. We exercised the sharpness of our wits to an incredible level, as you can very well imagine, knowing me. Returning to the subject. So, initially the galleys were constructed from bricks in Western traditions. Mary Rose is brick. It is a fireplace built out of bricks. There is the fire box under it. And on Mary Rose, for example, there are two kettles. When I say kettle, this is actually a cauldron. But in contemporary documents, the cauldrons were called kettles. This is where you boil the food. But the open fireplace also allowed roasting meat, using firkins, etc., for smaller quantities or for special occasions, or for the officers who, after all, were buying their own provisions. This remained the case throughout the 17th century. There is variation between the English system and some of the Scandinavian and the Dutch system. In Dutch shipbuilding, they were building up an open fire room, really, out of bricks. This is what we have on Vasa. It is just forward of the main mast at the very bottom of the vessel. This, of course, is coming, as you probably have already figured out this is coming from the Philadelphia gunboat, but it is a good representation of one of the types of fireboxes. And forgive me for getting sidetracked, but I'm watching carefully how the second assistant master shipwright is about to jump on one of the models. Very entertaining. Returning to the galley. This is not too far removed from, although it is smaller in scale, than what was done on Vasa. In the 1650s, we have correspondence. Forsyth, for example, one of the discussions when she was being built was where to locate the galley, in the hold or in the forecastle. The location in the galley has some major advantages. It is stable. It is protected from enemy fire ship. It theoretically, because of the stability and protection from enemy fire ship, theoretically at least, it is less prone to firing the rest of the ship. What are the disadvantages? Well, very, very serious ones. And while navies were coastal protection fleet, wasn't a big deal. If you're going to be out for 3-4 weeks before reprovisioning, not a big deal. But once Navy started operating at long distances and being deployed for months on end, 6-8 months abroad, in the Caribbean, in the Mediterranean, let alone in the East Indies, this no longer was an adequate solution, because you are taking up the best part of your hold, the most spacious area of the hold, you're taking it up with a galley instead of stationing the provisions. So you are cutting the range of your ship. This was what forced around the changes. The second reason, of course, is that when you have a fire down in the hold of the vessel, the smoke is soaking through the entire ship. And eventually these were moved into the forecastle. There are some versions of this. As I said, mostly in the 17th century, the Dutch continued to build open fire rooms. In a moment, I will discuss this in greater detail. The English were building fireplaces. They did not last very long. You constantly see even in the logbooks of vessels that are stationed along the English Channel or La Manche for our French viewers. Regularly you see references in the logbooks to bringing about a bricklayer to relay the galley. They were smoking, with the twisting and the turning of the vessels, while the ship was working at sea, this was passed on to the galley, so it was an ongoing maintenance issue. But then, of course, everything aboard the ship is a maintenance issue, isn't it? So, in this context, this was a workable solution, not ideal. By the mid-17th century, we know for a fact that the Dutch too had moved their galleys from the hold into the forecastle or somewhere in a hanging platform between the forecastle and the two gun decks. How do we know this? Well, there are two sources of information. The one is the often quoted by me Hohenzollern model that unfortunately no longer exists as of World War II, but was thoroughly documented there. You can see it both on the drawings and in the photographs that the galley is really kind of built between the decks. It is hanging at the aft end of the forecastle. And it has a chimney that takes smokestack that takes away the smoke from the galley into the open. On Indiaman, the Dutch did it a little bit differently, because Indiamen always carried excessive number of people for very long voyages. Obviously, the galleys also had to be adequate. By the 18th century, you have two galleys on opposite sides on the deck, amidships rather than in forecastle on the center line. Although these were heavily armed ships, they could afford to lose a couple of guns in order to provide adequate cooking facilities. We see this as early as the model of the Prince Willem. It is well documented, it is shown there. How are galleys constructed, however, we will discuss this next time. How were they made, what fireproof, and how did they develop from the end of the 17th century, really the beginning of the 18th century onwards. We'll talk about this next time. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for liking, commenting. Huge thank you to the sponsors. Goodbye.